7 to 8, if you're in a car, you roll up towards traffic lights, which are red, you stop, obviously. Eventually the lights will change and you'll be able to continue on your journey. It's something when you're in a car that you take for granted. But for bike riders, this isn't always the case, as they don't always trigger the lights. And this becomes more of an issue when turns come into play. It's an issue especially as the region expands its cycling network, but there are some solutions. Teppy McLaughlin is a PhD candidate in the School of Medicine and Public Health at the University of Newcastle and joins me now. Teppy, good morning.
Morning, Craig.
What technology is available to address this issue?
It's the very same technology that we use for cars, just slightly adapted for bikes. It's these induction loops that are embedded in the road. You've probably seen them when you've been in your car and you roll up towards the traffic lights. You see those lines that are just embedded within the road surface. There's some fantastic ones that are coming out now that are designed for bikes too.
How many of those do we have in Newcastle at the moment?
We have some. They're not widespread. What the gold standard approach is to have these in bicycle paths. So when you're riding along a path, which is separate to the roadway, you're riding along and you're on your bike. We don't have any of these ones in Newcastle, and it triggers a series of actions. So by the time you arrive at a junction, you have priority going through that junction. So it incentivizes people to take the bike for short journeys and leave the car at home. We know that that's a major source of pollution. 40% of journeys are under 3 kilometres long. So that's really quite rideable, probably about a 10-minute ride for most people. That'd be so good for things like pollution, for things like our health, and getting out and having a bit of fun in the morning too.
How cost effective are they?
It's such a widespread technology now, the induction loops, that it's something that we should be doing, of course, yeah. It's a really widely available technology. We've seen them started to be installed across New Zealand now in their bicycle path networks. It's something that we should consider as a cost-effective investment, because if it can get people to shift to bikes for short journeys, as I was saying, this is a really important source of air pollution, noise pollution. It's really good for our health when we swap to bikes. It would be a cost-effective investment. We'd be keeping people out of hospitals by reducing physical inactivity. We'd be making sure they get out and have some fun and have some, mental health time for themselves. It's a win-win, and every car off the road means there's less traffic, so that's good for people that are driving too.
Teppy, I've got a text here from Dave, and Dave says, regarding the bike detection at traffic lights, the detectors are electromagnetic and not based on the weight. Search for triggering traffic signals for the bicycle. Now, is Dave on the right path here? Are these, when you're in the car, is it based on the amount of weight so that these pads, if you like, know that it's a car, or if you have your bicycle on the pad, it's still going to trigger the light?
You can tell pretty easily if it's been designed for a bike. When you pull up to the road junction, there'll be 5 or 4, I can't remember quite now, 5 dots on the floor, painted, and these dots will have a small bicycle sign at the bottom of them. And what you want to do is position your bike over the top of those dots. So you'll see them around town. Have a look for them. They're getting more widespread now. It's a New South Wales led thing. That's where you want to position your bike. Position your bike wheel over the top of these dots, and that will trigger the pads. There's multiple different technologies available, but like I was saying before, the most important reason to do it is to make it as easy as possible for people to bike ride, because that pulls cars off the road and that pulls traffic off the roads.
Okay, I'm riding a bike and I get to a set of traffic lights and I want to turn right, and the bike is not triggering the right-hand arrow. What do I do?
Well, we've always got to follow the road rules. We've always got to be as safe as possible. If it's safe to do so, you can turn right from the kind of going straight lane from the bike, and that'll be where the pads are. If there are some pads where you can position your bike in the right-hand lane, that's even better. But, of course, the gold standard is not needing to be in the roadway at all in the first place if it's a road that's faster than 30 kilometres an hour. We've seen that. We know that if the road's got any faster than 30 kilometres an hour, it'd be great to have some separation in that roadway and have a bike path separate to the road. And that's good for both drivers and bike riders, because drivers then have that feeling of safety, and they don't get concerned they're going to knock somebody off their bike. And people that get out on bikes are more likely to do so, especially those, people who are maybe a little bit scared of getting out on their bike. If we make it as safe as possible by bringing that separation in, that's what we should be doing. So it'd be nice to see these induction loops embedded into the road more often, and it triggers the traffic lights. Of course, nobody wants to wait at the traffic lights, especially when we're on bikes and we want to get places really quickly. We want to be incentivising that. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Teppy, good to talk to you this morning.
Thanks very much, Greg.
There's Teppy McLaughlin, who's a PhD candidate in the School of Medicine and Public Health, the University of Newcastle.